Ah, cute. And if you fancy extending your visit to France, you can binge on the box set of Escape to the Chateau DIY, exclusive to all four. And if you fancy something a bit more watery, but just as lovely, Tim and Prue take us on an Italian Great Canal journey. That's tomorrow night at 8. Next tonight, though, it's the Channel 4 News.
Let's cater for all tastes. Wickes Kitchens sponsors Homes on 4.
Estimated 2 billion people are watching around the world to witness the first human mission to Mars.
Any time people venture into the unknown, there is a cost.
Sit down!
There's nothing for me here!
There's me! I'm still here!
I can't pass this up.
Does it matter, truly, what I think?
I achieved the rank of Colonel in the United States Army.
You got the rank you want. Do you have the respect you want?
The greatest pioneering feat in human history.
T-minus 5.
And it's right there.
4. 3. 2. 1.
The honor of being an astronaut comes because despite your training, there's always the chance you'll make the ultimate sacrifice.
Starring Sean Penn and Natasha McElhone. New drama The First. Coming soon to Channel 4.
The dark world of online witness intimidation in Dispatches, Stitches for Snitches, Monday night at 8. Now, though, the latest Channel 4 news with Krishnan Gurumurthy.
Donald Trump threatens severe punishment if Saudi Arabia did murder a dissident journalist as international calls mount for the truth.
We're going to get to the bottom of it, and there will be severe punishment.
Good evening. Severe punishment sounds serious, but Donald Trump also said he won't stop US arms sales to Saudi Arabia. So what does this threat add up to? It also depends on proving the Saudis did murder Jamal Khashoggi, and they deny it, and won't allow forensic investigators into the consulate in Turkey, where it is alleged the dissident journalist was killed. All this as America welcomes home the pastor held for 2 years in Turkey, accused of espionage. In Britain, a cancer charity says nursing shortages mean 3/4 of NHS trusts are failing to provide terminally ill patients with a dedicated nursing specialist. And we meet the American figure skating champion who's becoming a gay icon and going into politics.
I think that it's so important that we still speak out and we take action, and you help inspire people to get out there and take action as well.
So is it a strong warning or an empty one? Donald Trump has said he will get to the bottom of what happened to Jamal Khashoggi, and there will be severe punishment if Saudi Arabia murdered him. They deny it. The journalist, who was fiercely critical of the kingdom's rulers, disappeared after visiting a Saudi consulate in Turkey to get documents. Turkish officials claim to have recordings, possibly uploaded from a smart watch, proving he was killed inside the building. For a man famous for getting on with the Saudis, when it comes to Jamal Khashoggi, Donald Trump is finding it harder to dance to their tune. Asked what he'll do if they did murder the dissident journalist in their Turkish consulate, he's sounding tough.
We're going to get to the bottom of it, and there will be severe punishment.
But what does he mean? The president has effectively ruled out sanctions on Saudi weapons deals that would hurt American jobs in the run-up to an election.
They are ordering military equipment. Everybody in the world wanted that order. Russia wanted it, China wanted it, we wanted it. We got it, and we got all of it, every bit of it.
So would you cut that off?
Well, I tell you what I don't want to do. Boeing, Lockheed, Raytheon, all these I don't want to hurt jobs.
Jamal Khashoggi has disappeared without trace after being filmed on CCTV entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul 10 days ago to collect papers letting him marry his fiancée. Turkish officials claim the journalist was murdered by Saudi intelligence sent from Riyadh. This van was seen leaving the consulate a couple of hours after Khashoggi went inside. It then pulled up outside the private residence of the Saudi consul. Speculation has mounted. The body could have been inside. According to a pro-government Turkish newspaper, officials say they have audio and video recordings which may have been captured by Khashoggi's smartwatch, which they say prove he was interrogated, tortured and killed. The Saudi government has denied it has anything to do with it. Some business leaders and international media have said they are boycotting a major investment conference in Riyadh in the next 10 days. The US Treasury Secretary, however, says he will be going, as will the IMF chief Christine Lagarde, even though she raised concern about the murder allegations.
Horrifying things have been reported, and I am horrified. But I have to conduct the business of the IMF in all corners of the world and with many governments. So at this point in time, my intention is to not change my plan and to be very attentive to the information that is coming up in the next few days.
Britain's International Trade Secretary Liam Fox is also due to address the conference. He hasn't said whether or not he will. Britain too, of course, is a major exporter of weapons to Saudi Arabia. But while the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, has joined the calls to find out what really happened, Saudi Arabia continues to deny everything. Well, I'm joined now by Ghanem Al-Massarir, a Saudi human rights campaigner and political satirist, now based in the UK. He is the host of an online talk show where he often criticises the Saudi royal family. Now, if anyone has the relationship with Saudi Arabia to get to the truth, it's the United States. So do you feel at all reassured by what Donald Trump has said today?
I'm not really assured with what President Trump is saying. As we heard in the last couple of weeks, I will quote from President Trump. He asked the Saudi king is to pay for their protection. And he did say Saudi without U.S. protection, they wouldn't even last for 2 weeks. That's the President Trump statement. Therefore, I don't think he's going to seek the truth, what's happened about Jamal Khashoggi. He only wanted, like, I think, to continue the arms sale.
But he's very open about saying, you know, he's not going to threaten arms sales, and American jobs depend on it. And, you know, there's an honesty to what he's saying, you know, about that. I mean, the question is, do you think, you know, we're going to get to the truth when he says we will get to the bottom of it?
I don't think so, because Saudi Arabia has a long history of kidnapping people abroad and even murdering people abroad who criticize them. And we saw the last 3 royal family members disappeared from Europe. And we saw that the Saudi Arabia used their consulate and their embassies to spy in Saudi oppositions, like what happened in 2003 with the Saudi diplomat who was expelled from the United Kingdom because he bribed a police officer in order to obtain some private information.
But why do you think this is different? Why do you think the Khashoggi case has prompted so many big international reactions?
Khashoggi is very famous and well-known, and he's, from what we heard, he's planning to establish a new campaign against the Saudis, and he wanted to go hard on them, and he got that much attention. But in the same time, what happened to Jamal Khashoggi is happening inside the kingdom on a daily basis. People are disappearing, and we didn't even hear anything from President Trump regarding them. President Trump is keep asking the Saudis to pay for their protection, but he never asked of their abuse for human rights.
But the UN chief, Guterres, was talking about this kind of disappearance as being the new normal. You know, that this is the way countries will behave, certain countries. So as a critic yourself, does this make you think you're in a different world now, that you may be under threat?
Absolutely. Saudi Arabia government doesn't act like a respectful state. They act like a rogue state or even like a mafia. And they have history on that. Of course, I am in fear of my life because I would like to tell you and your audience that I was attacked here in broad daylight in London streets on 31st of August last month, and by two Saudi thugs who screamed.
When you say Saudi thugs, how do you know who they were?
They screamed at me, saying, who am I to talk about the Saudi crown prince and who to criticize them? So,
but we just need to be clear that you don't know that was from the Saudi government.
Sure, sir. But this was recorded by passerby, and what they have said and what they did to me was recorded and published online. And even the Independent has wrote article about it, and too many articles. So the Saudis does not act like a respectful state, and the reason is because nobody elected the Saudi government, and they claim to have taken this country by sword, and they have the right to do what they wanted to their own their own slaves, inside the kingdom and even abroad. And this is what we are seeing, and it's nothing new with the Saudis.
We must leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Ghanem Al-Masriya.
You're welcome, sir.
Now, the American pastor freed from a Turkish jail yesterday is now on his way to meet President Trump. His release is being seen as a diplomatic triumph. Relations between Turkey and the US had become strained over the pastor's detention. He had always denied he'd done anything wrong. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, reports.
So he's out. He's heading to the White House. He'll be with Donald Trump in about an hour, and the president is chuffed.
We're very honored to have him back with us. He suffered greatly, but we're very appreciative to a lot of people, So Pastor Brunson's in the air, heading to Germany, and then coming to the U.S.
Jailed 2 years ago, under house arrest since July, the 50-year-old father of three landed by private jet in Germany. Greeted by the U.S. ambassador at the refueling stop, he kissed the stars and stripes. In the months following the failed coup 2 years ago, Pastor Brunson was arrested and faced up to 35 years, accused of spying and aiding the coup attempt. He came to personify the deep rift between Turkey and the US, NATO allies of course. In the end, the most serious charges were dropped. He got 3 years on Friday, but was freed due to time already served. Tonight, Turkey is unrepentant. The American government should learn a serious lesson from this, he said. Turkey didn't capitulate in any way, even when under serious and strong pressure, she didn't back down. One American released. It leaves tens of thousands of police officers, teachers and journalists imprisoned in President Erdogan's Turkish gulag. Pastor Brunson's parents understandably relieved.
I have to say that I'm very proud of my son because he was facing life in prison on false charges. But in the last trial, he got up and he said that as God had forgiven him, he was forgiving all of the false witnesses.
And all this just when Turkey professes anxiety over Jamal Khashoggi, one Saudi journalist. Yet, as these pictures demonstrate, imprisons its own journalists by the busload. The glaring irony that Turkey wants to ignore, but the freeing of one American tonight once more underlines.
The leader of the Democratic Unionist Party has warned the Prime Minister not to accept a dodgy deal from the EU that would effectively cut Northern Ireland adrift. In a tweet, Arlene Foster said, "Our red line is not about the party, it is about the Union and the shape of the UK." Her comments come ahead of a summit in Brussels on Wednesday, where Theresa May is hoping for a breakthrough on the EU withdrawal agreement. Mrs Foster has also put pressure on the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, suggesting the DUP will not vote for his budget in 2 weeks' time if the Prime Minister gives way to Brussels. Parts of Wales have seen the worst flooding for 30 years as Storm Callum hit the west of the country. Winds have reached up to 60 miles per hour in some places and many homes remain without power. A 32-year-old man died after falling into Penarth Marina last night, and a number of key routes in Wales have been closed due to flooding and high winds. Now, almost 3/4 of NHS trusts are failing to provide specialist nurses for patients with incurable breast cancer, according to research from the Breast Cancer Care charity. Patients say having a specialist nurse to support them is the single most important thing they want, according to the charity. The Department of Health says it is committed to increasing the capacity of specialist nurses. Anya Pop went to Chorley to meet Jo Myatt, a woman affected by the shortage of specialist nurses.
There was just nobody at all to talk to, and it was very isolating. And because I didn't know a lot about it, I found myself looking on the internet for information and things, which was at the time the worst thing that I could possibly have done, because I was finding out, statistics that said potentially I had a year, 18 months to live.
2 years ago, Jo Myatt found out the breast cancer she survived a decade ago had come back, this time in her bones and liver. She says there needs to be more support for those living with secondary cancer.
It's an area which people just don't really know about. It's very hidden, and it makes you feel even more isolated that it is so hidden when there's so many people living with it. In the time that I've had my diagnosis, in the time that I've been part of the group, 4 people have died.
The government promised 3 years ago that all cancer patients would have access to a designated nurse by 2020. But a report today from Breast Cancer Care show almost 3/4 of NHS trusts across the UK are still not providing one for those living with incurable cancer, something patients like Jo say is vital.
It felt like somebody was actually there to support you, and that somebody actually cared. Whereas before, to try and navigate something you have no understanding of, and you don't know what to expect. Fundamentally, you are told when you are with primary on the whole that it's likely to be positive, that there's treatment, that it's the early stage. With secondary, you're basically told that your life is going to be limited, that you are going to die, and to have nobody to talk to and nobody to support that impacts not only on your physical health but your emotional and your mental health as well.
Well, joining me now is Gunesh Kalkan, Head of Policy for Breast Cancer Care, the charity that have revealed these figures. Why is this happening? Is it that there is a shortage of specialist nurses, or that the hospitals don't have the money to hire them?
I think it's a bit of both. I think what we're seeing at Breast Cancer Care through our research is that there's a chronic lack of funding happening across the NHS, and as a result, the hospital trusts are really stretched to breaking point. And what that means is that they, unfortunately, don't have the funding to be able to put in place new specialist nurses for people with incurable secondary breast cancer. On the other side, also, I think that there is a lack of understanding and there's a lack of giving priority to this group of patients within hospitals. What we find at Breast Cancer Care is that when we work with hospitals and explain the situation to them, they're more open to putting some more money into this area. So I think it's a mixture of both.
But I mean, if there's a government target, I mean, why is there not action being taken to meet it?
Well, so what we've seen is across England, Scotland and Wales, there have been statements in their cancer strategy saying that everyone should have access to a designated nurse by 2020. And unfortunately, we're in 2018 now, and we haven't seen that progress.
But is that just being ignored then? Is that one of those targets that they're just saying, well, we're just not going to make that?
Unfortunately, it's looking like because the funding isn't in place, then the specific hospital trusts are unable to deliver on the commitments that the government is making.
So what did you make of Theresa May's conference speech when she talked specifically about cancer?
I think we welcome the fact that there's going to be a new cancer strategy and a new NHS long-term plan, and I think it's actually a really good opportunity at this stage, with the information that's coming out through Breast Cancer Care's research as well, to double down and put in place proper funding for this group of patients so that hospitals have the money themselves to get the nurses in.
Could you just, I mean, we got a sense of it there from Jo Myatt in that piece, but could you just explain why a dedicated specialist is so important? I mean, all NHS staff on the whole are brilliant, so why can't you have care from a variety of people and it be just as good?
I think the first thing is, as you said at the start, it's the single most important factor that people with this disease are saying they want, and the reason for that is that it's improving their care throughout the process.
That's the key. I mean, does it mean that the care is better, or is it just a nicer experience?
I think I wouldn't like to kind of, put one above the other. I think that emotional support is absolutely vital when you're going through such a difficult, diagnosis and treatment. And what we find is that when people do have access to this nurse, it's a single point that they can speak to, that they can call out of hours, and can provide that emotional support. people with incurable breast cancer are having ongoing treatment for their whole lives to stop the cancer from spreading, and they're passed from pillar to post in terms of different departments, and having that single support provides that emotional support that they so desperately need.
Do you think it's possible to go from where we are now to full care by 2020?
Well, so at Breast Cancer Care, we did research 2 years ago on the same topic, and we've seen some increase, only about 7%. That's obviously not good enough, but I think with additional funding, that absolutely has to be the hope that that is where we get to.
Ganesh Kalkan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, these 14 people have been killed in Afghanistan after a bomb went off during a parliamentary election rally. Afghan police say a motorbike rigged with explosives was detonated in the northeastern district of Rustak. Civilians and security forces were amongst the dead. 32 people were wounded. Now, plans to start fracking for shale gas in the UK today have been delayed due to bad weather. The energy firm Quadrilla was given the go-ahead by the government to start work on a site in Lancashire, but heavy rain and strong winds caused by Storm Callum delayed the start. The company says work will now begin on Monday. Tens of thousands of demonstrators have marched through Paris to urge the international community to do more about climate change. The protest comes after the UN released a report warning that global warming could have a catastrophic effect on the planet. Demonstrators chanted slogans and carried banners urging politicians to act now. Cricket, and England have beaten Sri Lanka in the second one-day international in Dambulla. Owen Morgan fell short of a century, but his contribution of 92 runs proved to be enough. Here's our sports reporter, Jordan Jarrett-Bryan.
England's day 2 in Sri Lanka was going well until captain Joe Root had his partnership with Owen Morgan ended. Stokes soon followed, and close to a century, Morgan was taken by Lasith Malinga.
It's got to be 100 for Owen Morgan. Lasith Malinga.
Ali was gone as quick as he came.
2 in 2 for Malinga. Slow ball Yorker this time.
Some were having a good time doing a bit of spinning of their own. The hosts were eventually set the target of 278.
It's Pfeiffer for Malinga.
But it was a poor period at the crease for Sri Lanka as they fell 31 for 4 before play was delayed due to the rain. That handed England a win by 31 runs.
Now, an Olympian is swapping his figure skates for the wheels of political campaigning. Adam Rippon, who won a bronze medal in the Winter Olympics in South Korea earlier this year, says being an openly gay sportsman pushed him to join the campaign trail and speak out against President Trump's administration. Kieran Moodley went to meet him during a recent trip to London.
Blink, and you might miss him. It can be hard to keep up with Adam Rippon, not just on the ice rink, but during this year, when he's turned from an Olympian into a political campaigner.
Yes, of course I've faced backlash. But I think that's why it's important to still speak out. I know as a gay athlete, you hear a lot like, why is it important? I don't need to know that. But if you have this reaction to somebody's coming out story, there's obviously still something wrong.
In February, Rippon became the first openly gay American to win a medal at the Winter Olympics. But he also hit the headlines for publicly criticising Vice President Mike Pence. He accused Pence of funding gay conversion therapy, something the Vice President has denied, and he spoke out against the Trump administration's record on LGBTQ rights. His stance won him admirers, but also provoked a backlash, including from President Trump's own son.
You famously spoke out against Mike Pence and you refused to go to the White House. Do you stand by that, or do you wish you'd gone there to talk about LGBTQ rights?
I still stand by the actions that I took. Mike Pence led the U.S. delegation at the Olympic Games, and I was very vocal about how I felt like it was a poor choice. The President of the United States can tweet out how members of the trans community won't be able to serve in the military with no basis and without talking to anybody. And while that still goes on, those people are still in danger.
It was that type of criticism against the Trump administration that spun Rippon's career into a different direction. After the Olympics, he's been a voice not just for the LGBTQ community, but a campaigner for the Democrats, encouraging Americans to get out and vote this November.
The midterms are coming.
I mean, Hillary had a number of celebrity backers and she still lost. Do you worry a bit about a backlash that the Democrats and the elites and the celebrities, they're not my kind of people?
You know what? I have two things to say. One, I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I am not elite, and at my very core and in my heart, I am white trash. Yes, there were a lot of celebrities that backed Hillary Clinton in the presidential election, and she lost. But I think that it's so important that we still speak out and we take action, and you help inspire people to get out there and take action as well.
For Ripon, coming out was in itself partly political. He came out shortly after witnessing anti-gay laws introduced in Russia at the time of the Sochi Olympics in 2014. And that's not just completely changed the way he feels, but the way he's performed in the rink.
I realized that I didn't need to tone it down. I didn't need to amplify anything, but I needed to be who I was. Being out, I was authentically myself. I was laying it all out there. It was the best version of me as a competitor.
Since coming out, you feel it's made you a better performer and skater?
Oh, totally. Since coming out, I'm a completely different competitor. And it's the most liberating and the most powerful and the most amazing experience that you can go through, because it's when you become this person that you didn't even know that you had the opportunity to become.
Adam Ripon. Tonight's main news: there have been international calls for Saudi Arabia to explain what happened to the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. President Trump says there will be severe punishment if Saudi Arabia is found to be responsible. Mr. Khashoggi is a prominent critic of the Saudi regime who hasn't been seen since October the 2nd. Saudi Arabia denies any involvement in his disappearance. We're back tomorrow at 6:30. Until then, that's Channel 4 News. Have a very good evening.
Halfords Bike Servicing sponsors Channel 4 weather.
Rain over western areas of the UK will gradually ease this evening. The east and southeast will be dry for a time. The rain will spread into some central and southern areas later on, a low of 7 Celsius in the far north. Sunday will see cloud over England and Wales, giving way to brighter skies in the west later on. Rain will persist for a while over central and eastern areas. Scotland and Northern Ireland will have a drier and brighter day, highs of 18. The outlook for northern areas: after a chilly start, Monday will have bright spells, cloudier for a time on Tuesday with patchy rain, a high of around 16. And in the south, there will be some bright or sunny spells through the next couple of days. However, the southeast will have a risk of rain on Monday, highs of 19 Celsius.
Halfords Wiper Blade Fitting sponsors Channel 4 weather.
Saturday night here on Channel 4, and eel pie is on the menu. Norman Winchester is one of Britain's most historic towns at 8. Then at 9, Bruce Willis, John Malkovich, Dame Helen, and a whole host of A-listers look for a huge nuclear weapon in Red 2. Then Bruce is back, but this time as John McClane. No Shoes, Broken Glass, you know the one, it's Die Hard at 11:15. Next though, we're off to Fife for Britain at Low Tide.
Stand Up to Cancer returns to Channel 4 for a killer night of fundraising, featuring John Legend, Michael Bublé, Liam Gallagher, James Corden, Little Mix, Liam Neeson and many more. Plus a special celebrity goggle box. Stand Up to Cancer, Friday the 26th of October on Channel 4.
Hamilton has seen off all the opposition this season. But can he beat his rivals one more time? Victory in America could give him his 5th world title. Join us live from the United States for all the action. Formula One coverage starts next Friday on More 4.
The bloody past of Norman Winchester laid bare. Professor Alice Roberts reveals all in Britain's most historic towns in an hour. First though, an old bridge throws up some new clues in the River Tay. We're off to Fife to see what's on offer in Britain at low tide.
Britain has over 11,000 miles of coastline, and every day archaeological evidence appears that sheds new light on our island history.
For just a few hours a day, Britain is at low tide, and in these moments we can find and investigate forgotten traces of our past.
Much of this coastal heritage is under threat, from coastal erosion and rising sea levels. And that's why teams of archaeologists around the country are busy recording our most valued historical remains before they disappear. I'm joining my colleagues from Citizen, the Coastal and Intertidal Zone Archaeological Network. Together, we'll travel around Britain to discover the amazing stories of the intertidal zone.
Our investigations will take us from golden sandy beaches to windswept cliffs and ragged rocks, where we'll explore remnants of forgotten forts and ancient caves, abandoned industries and lonely shipwrecks.
This week, we're on the east coast of Scotland, in the ancient kingdom of Fife, where the extensive intertidal archaeology tells a story of huge change over the centuries.
Oh!
We'll visit caves last lived in by one of Scotland's oldest tribes.
We don't know actually what these symbols precisely mean, but they mean something.
We'll be searching for an industry that once dominated these shores.
If you have coal, you can use that to evaporate the water to make salt.
And we'll be exploring one of Britain's worst railway disasters.
Amazingly, they actually salvaged the engine off the riverbed.
The coast of Fife is defined